Did you get the God bumps? Yeah, that's what really feeling good is all about. And, you know, I just want you to feel that for a minute, because that energy is what we're talking about this morning. You know, I've talked to quite a few people this week that haven't been feeling so good, because we live in this dense world. You know what I mean? It offers us so many opportunities not to feel so good. If we keep our consciousness right here on the material level, the visible level, we're going to not feel so good a lot of the time. You know, those of us, which is all of us right here on this spiritual journey, know that pain is a teacher. It's here to guide us and direct us and move us to a greater experience. Now, I'm going to tell you something. If you want to get up right after this, because you know it all, that's fine. But the complement to pain, to suffering, to those problems in life, the complement to that is love and beauty and compassion. That's the whole idea. You know, the indigenous people really got this. When they found someone or met somebody out of balance, they just stop and say, when did you stop singing? When did you stop dancing? When did you stop loving stories, especially your own? And when did you stop feeling comforted by silence? You know, when we stop living, being fully alive, that's when we suffer and feel pain the most. So I want to really talk this morning about how can we get into the activated consciousness of knowing that life is, dang it, but it's good. It's not just good some of the time. There's good available all the time. We just have to get to a place where we understand that it's there. Now, the greatest activators to connect us to spirit, to God, to truth, to reality, to the absolute, whatever you want to call it, the greatest activators are pain, beauty, and love. They'll get us there if we let it. If we let that, look how the music this morning just boom, snapped us open. We can do that. We have that ability in us. Ernest Holmes says, when you have dis-ease in your body, your mind, or your spirit, it's because you're disconnected to your spiritual mindedness. You've put way too much emphasis on this human mindedness. And I'll tell you, we are receptors of energy. We are receptive inlets, instruments. We're here to receive, and we're here as distribution centers. Ernest Holmes would say that's an inlet and an outlet to spirit, to God, to good, to truth, whatever it is. We are inlets and outlets. But if we're only inletting the things from this physical world that we can see with our eyes or hear with our ears, then we're going to probably bring in a lot of fear, a lot of confusion, a lot of separation thoughts, blame, feelings of rejection, guilt. Do you know what I mean? You getting that? Because we do that. We get confused because we give way too much power to this human vehicle, vessel that we have, when spirit is everywhere present. Now, the philosopher and the psychologist, William James, the American philosopher, said, the world we see that seems to be so insane, you're supposed to kind of laugh on that one because it sort of really does, but is the result of a belief system that is not working. To perceive the world differently, we must be willing to change our belief system, to let the past slip away, expand our sense of now, and dissolve the fears in our mind. It means increasing our consciousness, as we would say in metaphysics, increasing our consciousness of unity with the whole, with all life. Unity consciousness. And it reminds me, and I love in the song, it was the fish in the sea. We've heard the story of the little fishes swimming in the ocean, and the two of them are just swimming along, having a good time, and a little older fish swims by and says, "Hi guys, how's the water today?" And the little fish go, Then they go, what's the water? What is it? And they start looking for the water. But if they're looking for the water, guess what? They're never going to find it, because it's not something you can see. It has to be felt. And that's what this same energy is, this consciousness of being one with everything, moving beyond the physical into the expanded consciousness. And that's what you and I are here to do, to be an inlet to something greater than we are. Our belief system is belief in limitation, in lack, in not enoughness. And when we expand that belief system, as William James was saying, we believe that there's a power for good in the universe, greater than we are. Like the water, we're immersed in it, we're in it, it's all around us, it's in us, around us, through us. But we have to own it, a power for good, and we can use it every minute. Right now, we're filled with possibility. There may be something in our life that seems limited, but there's something more available right here and right now. And that's what we want to be able to learn. You know, the mystics, now mystics, who are the mystics? We think of mystics as some exalted beings like hanging on our wall, Jesus, and a wonderful mystic, all these mystics that know so much more than we do. They don't necessarily know more than we do. They're just using the power in a greater way. The mystics have a persistent and a consistent connection to spirit. They have their receptors open to be that flow. And they know, most mystics, or many mystics, are created in times of great suffering and great pain in the world. If you look at the mystics, if you look at Mother Teresa, the Dalai Lama, their lives are not easy. They were not easy. But they kept that jolly little laugh of the Dalai Lama and that open, loving heart of Mother Teresa, because they knew there was something more at work, not sometimes, but always. There's always something more going on. So I'm going to challenge you this morning to, are you willing to be a mystic?
Yes.
Good, because it's in all of us. It just wants to be woken up. It's there. It's waiting for us. Logic and reason will not get us there. But we have to be willing to change our beliefs. In metaphysics, we teach seeing beyond appearances to the greater truth, which means we have to, we've got to stretch and grow, which was what we're supposed to do. We have to catch ourselves in the process of our limited thinking, of being stuck somewhere, and know that there's something more at work. We have to be willing to do that. We have to realize when our thoughts and emotions have stagnated. When you hear yourself repeating that same stupid old story? You know what I mean, again and again and again. That story. And that story wants a bigger interpretation. It's not that the story is bad. It's just not big enough. So we want to stretch our story so we can feel in the flow. We can, mystics don't separate themselves from the human experience. Not at all. They're immersed in the human experience and in the spiritual recognition that there's something more at work, and that they are the inlet and the outlet of goodness. Now, fear and separation, which brings pain, disconnection, fear and separation cannot live in a consciousness of love. They can't do it. Love has these, being a lover of angels, I'll just say wings that lead us to a higher understanding of life, of one another. And we're called to do that. So I'm going to ask you this morning, silence. We talked about silence. Do you like the person you're with when you're alone? Some of us do. Some of us need a little work. I can see, I'm not really sure about that. But in the silence is the way to open the receptors, because the heart right here is the translator between this spiritual energy, the mystical consciousness, and our intellect. We have to process it through the feeling nature of who we are. So if you and I decide to sit in the silence, let me just practice. You know how I like you to untangle yourselves a little bit, so you're open vehicles and vessels, and just sit in the silence. And a way to start us on the journey of this inner work, this inner awakening to this unitive consciousness, is to be thankful. Right now, what's ever going on in your life, be thankful. Because there's always things to be thankful for. I was listening to one mystic this morning who was saying, every blade of grass gives us something to be thankful for. So there's always a place to be thankful. And then practice this morning forgiving yourself and everyone else, because forgiveness opens the door to good, to spirit, to possibilities, to being in the flow of the grace and spirit of good. We don't have to earn God's grace. We don't have to earn a relationship with spirit. It's already there. We just have to be open to it. So thanksgiving, forgiveness. And I love this idea. When we pray, not because we want something, not beseeching something, but we pray because we just love spirit. We love God. We love to be in that energy, that vibration, whatever you call it, of the absolute. We just love it. And we just pray because we want to feel that connection. If we're in that energy, the freedom to move beyond is already present. The freedom is already there when we see in that greater way, that greater possibility. So once we do that, we can understand there's much more to life. There's much more to life. You know, at the end of life, what people regret the most is not having the courage to be themselves. So trying to live someone else's life. They don't have the courage to be who they're meant to be. They want to be able to express their feelings. They want to express themselves, and they've encapsulated themselves in another life. So right now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to imagine the best version of yourself. The best version. Doesn't have to be somebody you've been yet. It can be what you're aspiring to be. The best version of yourself. And I want you to step into that. Step into that best version of yourself. Is it more loving, more caring? Is it kinder? Is it take better care of itself? What does it do? The best version of yourself. That's having the courage to live fully and live alive. And it could be different every day. It doesn't have to be the same energy, but what's the best version of me this day, right now, this moment, and step into it. Step into a bigger, more activated, more alive version of who you're meant to be. Wow. Can you feel a difference? Can you feel a difference? Because once we do that, we're stepping into a greater consciousness of being our best. And when we choose to be our best, we make everybody's life around us better. Don't you agree? You're not too fun when you're in that cruddy little place. But once we step into that best version, we're pretty darn good, and we can up-level everyone around us. And if we have the courage, not just to be the best version of ourselves, but to see the best version of others, because we can't help but benefit by helping other people evolve and grow. When we help someone else grow, we are born givers. I told you we're receptors. We're receptive instruments to receive. Well, we can receive down here if we want to receive all that stuff, or we can receive the light, the love, the goodness, the beauty, the joy. We can receive that, but we're also here to be the distribution centers. And when we uplift others, we can't help but feeling better ourselves. Would you agree with that? We can't. It's just not possible unless we come from a consciousness we do it because of expectation. And the other thing that people most regret towards the end of their life is they didn't love enough. They didn't spend enough time in the beauty and the magnificence of the presence. They didn't love enough. They spent too much time trying to get things, do things, but didn't sit in that consciousness of love, which is the mystical consciousness, which is that consciousness that takes us away, or at least in balance with pain and difficulty, to a greater understanding. And when we love, we can talk about what's wonderful in our life and ask others, what's wonderful going on in your life? When we love enough, we don't have to keep talking about what's wrong. We can be talking about what's right. We can compliment people. We can do things that make people feel better. Not fake compliments to get something, but a compliment that you mean, where we're uplifting this world. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to share a quote, two quotes I have here. One is, Meister Eckhart, which is one of the most beautiful mystics, Christian mystic, a German Christian mystic, and he said, "Our destiny is to see as God sees, to know as God knows, and to feel as God feels." What would your life be like right now if you did just that? How would it be the same? How would it be expanded? And one of my favorite mystics, Rumi, says, spirit is so mixed in this visible world. So mixed. It's like that water thing that we were talking about. The giver, the gift, and the beneficiary are all one thing. There is no separation. There is no separation. And this is what Ernest Holmes talks about. If you will take time daily to sense, to feel the presence of life within you, it's there now, it's there always. To believe it, to accept it, it will not be long before the life that you've known will gradually disappear. And something new will be awakened, a bigger, better, more perfect you. You will pass from not being so alive to being fully alive, from want and lack to freedom and greater possibility. From a sense of being alone, you will pass into a realization of oneness with everything and rejoice in that oneness. Will you take this moment and just join me in prayer? As we know together without question that each and every one of us is a beneficiary of the divine, that right here in this moment there is nothing we lack, because all the good, the love, the joy, the possibility has already been given. We take this moment to reject any thoughts of dualism, of loneliness, of separation, of guilt. We reject it. We don't need it. We let it go. And we allow ourselves to step into that consciousness, the awakened consciousness of the mystic, the unitive consciousness, the consciousness that we are one with all life. There's nothing, no one, anywhere that is truly separate. Divinity lives in all and in everything, and it is in this moment we open it so we can feel more fully alive. We can choose this moment to be activated in our good. Whatever our experiences are in this physical realm, we know there's a goodness right now in us, an aliveness that wants to be expressed, awakened, magnified, enjoyed, appreciated. We are both blessed and a blessing because we live in this consciousness of unity. We recognize that love, that is light, that is love, that is goodness, that is possibility, that is joy. We recognize that right now as the essence that is alive in us, and we see it in others. We choose this moment to reach out, to let our heart have wings and embrace this world as one big family. We are here together on a path of growth, of learning, of expression and goodness. And just take this moment to feel alive, to feel good, to feel awake. Just take a nice deep breath. We say, and so it is. And please repeat after me. I am alive. I'm alert. I'm enthusiastic. I look good. I feel good. I am good. Life is good. I'm feeling all right. are you? Welcome to the family. And give yourselves a hand. Thank you, thank you, thank you.